Hey everyone, Ken here. Let me ask you a simple question. How many times have you heard this? Xi Jinping has lost power. The CCP party elders are stepping in. The military is turning against him. There has been a secret coup. Xi is under house arrest. Every time I see these headlines on Twitter or even on YouTube, I just shake my head and say, here we go again. The same rumor, recycled every few months. Different faces, same script, same wishful thinking. But here's the real problem. These rumors aren't just false, they're dangerous. They distract, they distort, and worst of all, they dull the blade of real resistance against dictatorship. So today I'm going to break it all down. Why these rumors keep popping up and why they're just complete nonsense and a waste of time. And why believing them is the fastest way to lose the fight against authoritarianism. Let's get into it. I'll be honest with you, I used to believe this stuff too. You know, when I first started digging into Chinese politics, really trying to understand how power worked inside the opaque system, I fell into the same trap. I remember sitting in my apartment in California, refreshing Twitter every 5 minutes during the 2022 lockdowns, watching some dude claim that Xi hasn't been seen in public for 11 days. He's probably been overthrown. And I wanted to believe it. I need to believe it. And as someone who grew up in a Chinese family, but saw the brutality of the CCP from afar, I craved that justice story. You know, the dictator finally gets what's coming and the good guys win. But this isn't a movie. This is power. And power doesn't fall because you tweet it hard enough. And that's walks through how this cycle works, right? Step one, Xi disappears from the news for a week. And then step two, some anonymous account posts that there has been a coup. Step three, YouTube channels pick it up. Step four, someone starts talking about troop movements near Beijing. Step five, boom, viral. And then nothing happens. She shows up on state TV the next day waving to a bunch of factory workers. And then everyone moves on until the next cycle happens again. You know, this has happened over a dozen times since 2022 alone. I have seen headlines like elder party members issue ultimatum to Xi, or military dissatisfaction reaches boiling point, Xi's health crisis forces transition. And every time people eat it up like candy because it tastes good, because it feels like justice, but it's a sugar high with no nutrition. The problem is, it's not just harmless fantasy. It's setting us up to fail. These rumors work because they tap into our emotion, not logic. If you are like me, angry at the CCP's lies, cruelty, censorship, corruption, then of course you want to believe she's hanging by a thread. We project our own feelings onto the regime. We imagine cracks where there are none. We confuse dissatisfaction with rebellion. But emotion is not a substitute for analysis. And political change doesn't come from feelings. It comes from structure. So let's talk about how power really works in China. Xi Jinping didn't just stumble into power. He didn't just win an election and get lucky. He systematically consolidated power over every single core institution of the Chinese Communist Party. The military PLA, he chairs the Central Military Commission. No one sneezes in the army without his permission. The internal security system, the Ministry of Public Security and State Security Bureau report to his royalists. Propaganda and censorship, from Xinhua to CCTV to Weibo, everything runs through party filters. There's no space for dissent. Personnel, through the organization department, she controls promotions, demotions, transfers, and purges. If you breathe the wrong way, you're gone. This is not just strong leadership. This is institutionalized dictatorship. And he did it all under the banner of anti-corruption and party revitalization. And that is why rumors of a sudden coup are so laughable. There's no mechanism left for it to happen. Now, let's talk about the second big fantasy, the so-called party veterans. Every few months, you hear someone say, Wen Jiabao has reappeared to scold Xi, or Hu Jintao is leading a reformist faction, or Jiang Zemin royalists are regrouping. I hate to break it to you, but these guys are done. Wen Jiabao, irrelevant. Hu Jintao faded into oblivion. Jiang Zemin, dead, literally. Even when they were in office, they had limited power. And now, they're like ghosts hunting a house that's already been demolished. And Wang Yang, people keep hoping he will step in like some moderate savior. But let's be real. He couldn't even hold on to a Politburo seat in 2022. He has no faction, no military backing, no personnel network. The system has already spit him out. This isn't House of Cards. This is CCP we're talking about. And the CCP does not allow challengers. It eliminates them. This is what people don't get. China's political system is not just centralized. It's engineered for royalty. You rise by saying yes. You survive by staying invisible. You fall the moment you step out of the line. Everyone around Xi has been selected for one thing, obedience. Not competence, not charisma, just blind royalty. The system has been purged of talent, dissent, creativity. What is left is a room full of yes men who owe their entire careers to Xi and who know that they will be crushed the moment they step out of the line. So when people ask, why doesn't someone inside the party challenge Xi Jinping? Because that's suicide. Because even if they tried, the system would eat them alive. So why do these rumors keep coming back? I think there are three reasons. First, hope. People want to believe this nightmare in China is ending. They want to believe change is around the corner. Second, grift. Let's be honest. People make money off this stuff. Clicks, ads, donations. It's profitable to sell false hope. Third, confusion. The CCP benefits from chaos. If the population is constantly chasing ghosts, who has time to focus on the real enemy? Sometimes I wonder if these political rumors are seeded by the CCP itself. Feed the masses fake drama, and they won't notice the real horror show playing in plain sight. It's like the magician's trick. Look over there, while the real sleight of hand happens right in front of you. Let me be crystal clear. Belief in fake coup stories is not harmless. It's not just harmless fun. It's a form of intellectual decay, because the more you indulge in these fantasies, the less prepared you are to deal with the real battle ahead. If you think the regime is about to collapse on its own, you don't resist, right? You just wait and you refresh Twitter, you consume those political rumors, you retreat. But dictatorships don't fall because of rumors. They fall because people understand the system and challenge it deliberately. So if you want to weaken Xi's regime, don't just fantasize about his fall. Study the structure, expose the lies, build alternative narratives that actually matter. Real change, whether in China or anywhere else, doesn't come from gossip. It comes from structural pressure, including economic decline, social unrest, geopolitical isolation, external leverage, including sanctions, diplomatic pushback, internal cracks, not rumors, but visible splits among elites with resources to act. And most importantly, clarity, a public that understands what they're up against. That's why these fake coup stories are so harmful. They obscure the real sources of strength and weakness in the regime. So here's what I want you to take away. Xi Jinping isn't losing power. He is consolidating it. And until we understand the system that enables that power, nothing will change. I'm not saying give up. I'm saying wake up. If you care about democracy, freedom, and truth, then stop chasing those fairy tales and start asking harder questions, because the real enemy isn't Xi alone. It is the system that made Xi possible. And that system won't collapse with a whisper. It will collapse when millions of people understand its true nature and fight it with eyes wide open. So please share this video with someone stuck in a fantasy loop. We don't win this fight by telling those bedtime stories. We win by staying sharp, speaking truth, and refusing to be distracted. This is Ken, cutting through the noise, one rumor at a time. And I'll see you in the next one.